Hello there, everybody, and you're all very welcome to the show. Hope you enjoy what happens here over the next hour or so. To find out who our first guest is, let me hand you over to our MC for the evening, the beautiful Fred Cooke.
Thank you, Tommy. Well, our first guest is John O'Lancaster.
Hey.
Hello there.
Hi, Tommy.
How are you?
Well,
very pleased to meet you. Very pleased to meet you. Sit down there.
Thank you. How are we doing?
So the first thing that strikes me is the tattoos.
Oh, yeah.
For somebody who never met you before, don't know who you are, so the first thing that hits you is the face.
Yep.
What is that?
Okay.
Is it a
Condition, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was born with a condition called Treacher-Collins. So teacher with an R, Treacher-Collins.
Okay.
And it's affected my face. No family history. I was a sporadic mutation, so it was a shock to my birth parents. I was going to be born like this. Treacher-Collins only affects the facial features, so I have no cheekbones, so that's why my eyes appear the way they do. My ears haven't developed properly, so I've got these, I call them my little Bart Simpson ears, which I absolutely love them. But it means I wear a hearing aid because I'm hard of hearing, and yeah, that's Treacher-Collins for me.
Does it frustrate you?
Does it frustrate me? Treacher-Collins has gave me so many feelings throughout my entire life. As a child, I naturally celebrated who I was. I loved looking different. And then in my teenage years, I started to question why I looked different from everybody else.
Yeah.
And, you know, my favourite sports teams, my favourite bands, my favourite movies, they didn't have anybody with a visible difference. And I was like, I just want to look like my friends, you know, and I became very angry with my appearance. And then thankfully, as a grown man, 39 now, you know, I've come to the terms where I actually love my face. But it's taken me a lot of years to reach that point.
I'm just wondering, that must be a great relief to you, to be relieved of that anger and frustration.
So, I was very angry with my appearance. As a teenager, I would have a rough day at school, for example.
Yeah.
You know, kids would pull their eyes down, run away from him in case you catch his disease and you end up looking like him. And I used to, as a teenage boy, I would go to my room and I would just look in the mirror and I would push my eyes up. And I believed that looking like this, I wouldn't find a job, I wouldn't have long-lasting friendships, I wouldn't be, who's going to find me attractive, how am I going to ever have a family of my own? And I just, anger that I hated my face, and then I started to hate the world around me.
Yeah.
So I was adopted when I was 5 years old. I've always known I was adopted. And as a child, I shared that story with all my friends. I would say to my friends, my mum went to the hospital, and out of all the babies there, my mum chose me. Your mums and dads got stuck with you, but my mum chose me. And I absolutely loved that story. So my birth parents left me in hospital when I was born, and they felt like it was best that we went our separate ways. And I was fostered by this incredible lady, single mum, in her 40s, lived in a council house. And I am so blessed and so lucky that I had a second chance of finding a forever family, a forever home, and as a child, I loved that story. But as a teenage boy, I started to think about my birth parents.
Yeah.
How could they leave me? How those two people that are supposed to love you no matter what, how could they leave me? And I became angry. I became a very lost, angry soul.
What was the resolution to that anger?
The resolution to that anger, I developed a lot of coping mechanisms, unhealthy coping mechanisms. They might have been in the moment they helped. So for me, avoiding mirrors. I looking at my reflection was one of the hardest things to do. I became a class clown, I became a joker, I would do pranks, I was a people pleaser, I had no boundaries. As I got older, I would drink, and yeah, a lot of unhealthy coping strategies. And by the time I got into my 20s, I was very isolated and very alone, and that's when life started to change for the better.
How?
How? I ended up working in a bar, very, very busy bar, when I was 20. This guy walked into the bar, and this guy was huge. He had head-to-toe tattoos, muscles coming out of muscles I didn't even know existed. And we made eye contact from my bar to the door, and he saw me, and I was like, no, he's seen me. And there was just this fear of, like, impending doom. He's going to say something to me. And he was, like, trying to get eye contact with me. And he was, hold up, mate, what happened to your face? And at 20 years old, I hated talking about my face. And he was like, what happened? Why do you look like that? And I was like, excuse me, what would you like to drink?
Yeah.
And he was like, no, what happened to your face? And I was like, oh, I was born like this. What would you like to drink?
What happened to yours?
Yeah. And he was like, well, what's that in your head, pointing to my hearing aid? And I was like, what's happened to your ears? And I was like, I wear a hearing aid because I can't hear without it. And he's like, mate, if I shout really loud, can you hear anything without your hearing aid on? And I was like, no, I can't hear anything. What would you like to drink? And he was like, mate, you're so lucky you can pick and choose when you want to hear. And I was like, I guess. And he didn't tell you why. And I was like, why? And he was like, I wish I could do that. And I was like, why? And he was like, I've got a wife at home. And she is so loud. As soon as she wakes up on a morning, it's like somebody's put a Duracell battery in and she's talking. And I was like, I'd do that with me mum. Yeah. I'd do that when when everybody's talking to me, crying baby, the hearing aid goes off and I'm in a world of my own. And then something amazing happened. He was like, can I shake your hand? He was like, nice to meet you. Yeah. What's your name? I said, it's Jono. And he was like, nice to meet you, Jono. What would you like to drink? And I was like, well, I'll have a beer, please. And he was like, make it 2. So I got us a couple of beers. We cheersed. And he was like, and off he went. He enjoyed his night. And that moment changed my life because I got him so wrong. And sometimes people don't have the words or the vocabulary to ask, why do you look the way you do? And he just said it in his own way. And when I shared, he found that common ground. And he was like, well, that's cool, man, that's cool. And I just got so many people wrong. I had also this mindset of when I heard people laughing, I thought they were laughing at me. When I saw people staring at me, I thought they were staring at this because it's different, and different isn't cool. But that moment, he was just like, yeah, that's pretty cool, man.
What has it stopped you from doing? Because sitting opposite you for just a short while, you know, there's at first that's a point of interest and a point of contact, but after a while it becomes irrelevant. So in your life, what has the condition you're born with stopped you from doing?
Treacher Collins hasn't stopped me from doing anything, but I stopped myself from doing so many things when I was younger. My friends would always go on holidays. No, I couldn't do that. I wanted to be a PE teacher. I was like, no, I can't do that. I wanted to do so many things in life. I wanted to ask that girl out on a date. I know, she's not going to find this attractive. So Treacher Collins hasn't stopped me from doing anything. It's always me. And then once I'd found that acceptance, then my life has just snowballed and taken me to places that I never even imagined. And shortly after the guy in the bar said his thing, a girl started working in the bar. She loved the Smiths and she loved Morrissey, she loved Radiohead. I fancied the pants off this girl. And again, stayed away. She's not going to be interested in me. And one night we were talking and we started hanging out and we had a conversation about my face. And I was like, oh, this is not cool. This ain't sexy. And she was just like, Jono, I friggin' love your face. And she leans in and she kisses me. And in that moment, I went from feeling unattractive to thinking I was the sexiest guy in the world. And our lives, when we put ourselves out there, can change in a single moment, in a single handshake, in a single phrase. And she shared that with me, and that was another game changer. And then I'm now 39. These 18 years have gone by, and that self-love has grown and grown and grown.
What's happened to you over the 18 years?
So I started to live. I started travelling around the world, recently become an author. I published my first book 3 months ago called Not All Heroes Wear Capes. It's just been released in Spanish as well. Working on a new TV show that's going to be released next year. But one of my most favourite things that I do, and I was able to do it yesterday, I craved the opportunity of meeting somebody like me when I was growing up. And I felt that would have been game-changing for me. So I travelled all around the UK, meeting all these children with Treacher Collins with these visible difference. More people got in touch, so I ended up going to Australia, New Zealand, Argentina, Chile, Mexico, all around the States, Norway, Germany, Ukraine, meeting all these families with Treacher Collins. And when I was invited onto the show, I asked the guys, I said, can I come in a day early, please? There's a boy here living in Ireland with Treacher Collins. I'd love to meet him. And they're like, yep, let's do it. So yesterday, I met Tomas and his mother, 13 years old. And he was telling me about Irish sports. And he advised me to buy a Munster shirt rather than a Leinster shirt. Yeah. And one of the things that he also told me, 13 years old, he's like, Jono, you're the first person that I've ever met that looks like me. You're the first ever person that I've met that wears hearing aids. And it's just something that, there's a saying that goes, be who you needed when you were younger. And I've been blessed to be able to do that.
What kind of questions, say, Tomas, the young Irish guy you met, what kind of questions do people have, kids with the same condition, have for you?
How did he get through it? How did he survive school? Relationships and dating has been a difficult one for a lot of, will I ever find love? So they're the common things. How are you gonna? Did I find school? How do I handle bullies, especially online now? Even as an adult, I've experienced a lot of trolling online, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and I genuinely feel sorry for these people when it comes to bullies.
What is wrong with people that we do that?
I once thought looking like this would prevent me from finding happiness, but those ones that truly troll and bully, it's them that aren't going to find that happiness. And I genuinely feel sorry for them because there is something inside of them that is just ruining their life. And it's pretty sad. But one of the common things that I get asked about all the kids is, do you still love your birth parents? And when I was 25, I reached out to my birth parents. And I felt like I was in a good place to let them know that I was okay. And hey, look, I've got this beautiful life. So we reached out to them through an adoption agency, and we sent them a letter saying, hey, I'm okay. I'm open to meeting. And they sent the adoption agency a letter back, and it simply said, we do not wish any contact. Further attempts will be ignored. And both my birth parents had signed it. And it crushed me. Rejection is something that I still find hard. But as a grown man now, I don't know what happened with my birth parents. The only thing I know for a fact is those two people gave me life. They brought me into this beautiful world, and I've been blessed with this life, and I fill it with love and adventure, and I'm just so grateful for that life that they've given me.
When you're talking to, say, a young kid of 12 or 13 about to go into this most turbulent time, you know that you can't really protect them.
Yeah.
So you can't stay in touch with all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Is that hard?
Very. In recent years, this is something that I've struggled with because I've met all these beautiful individuals all over the world. I also go into schools and do anti-bullying workshops, and I talk to children that are living in care, and I carry that around with me every day, and I do want to protect these kids. And when anybody shares anything with me, I feel it, and it's one of my superpowers. But a few years ago, I started developing panic attacks, and I was struggling, really, really struggling. I couldn't switch off. So that's something that I've worked with my therapist on a lot recently, in these recent years, of being able to support, but also being able to manage the emotional side of it. Because I can't protect them, and I don't want to protect them. They need to develop their own strength, their own resilience, their own self-love, because there's going to be moments in life where we are on our own. And I learned that from when I was born. I was on my own, and I had to learn this stuff. And we surround ourselves with amazing people. And I was given a gift of a superhero in my mum that adopted me. And when we combine those two, when we surround ourselves with epic hearts and love, and we fill ourselves with self-love, you're pretty well equipped to take on whatever life throws at you.
Why do you go to therapy?
I have a mask on my arm. I put on my mask, big fake smile. Yeah, I'm okay. And now this is a reminder to take that mask off and talk about my emotions. And I will talk to my therapist about my emotions. Yeah, but therapy isn't for everybody. Sometimes for me, music was therapeutic. Radiohead, Creep. That song spoke to me like nothing else.
Because I'm a weirdo.
I'm a weirdo. I don't belong here. You're so fucking special. I wish I was special. And I've done some documentaries for the BBC. They've all got a Radiohead song in them. And now I sing that song. I'm a terrible singer, but I sing that song with so much passion and love. And it's when you have a breakup and you hear a love song and you're like, oh my God, that hurts. And it's because you're not over that person.
Yeah.
I now sing Radiohead, Creep, with so much passion because I'm over those dark feelings.
Great way to start the day. Just throw the windows open. I'm a creep.
Yeah. And it's owning that.
Yeah.
But no, man, the power of self-love.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jono, for coming onto the show, and it's been an absolute privilege talking to you.
Well, thank you for having me, and absolutely loved the real, honest conversation, man.
My pleasure, fella. My pleasure.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the second half, everybody. Freddie, who's next?
Tommy, our next guest is Roddy Collins.
How are you, Tommy?
Good.
What's the crack?
No messing.
No acting the maggot.
No acting the maggot. You smell good.
There you go.
What is it?
John Gaultier.
Really?
Yeah, and my kids own it, not me.
Yeah, and it's good glasses as well.
Yeah, and everyone said that, and I paid a fortune for the suit. Not one person said your suit was nice. Do you know where the glasses came from?
Well, I could make a joke like the
No,
HSE or something.
No, it's not a joke. You know, Hugh Wallace does a show about doing up houses and that. I worked on Temple Bar Properties as a plasterer years ago, and he come on the telly there, and I was wearing these old wonky glasses, and the kid said, "Dad, they're the ones you need. Cover most of your face."
What are you
your
up to?
big wonky nose, cover that as well.
What are you up to these days?
Well, I'm just living the dream, Tom. Walking on beaches and walking around Achill Island and just trying to figure out what my existence is and why I'm here at this stage of my life.
Yeah.
And yeah.
You haven't retired now, or?
Well, I never really started. So I don't know what
So you're
retirement
looking for
is.
work?
Well, work, I don't know what work is, Tom. I was a plasterer.
Yeah.
I did gym. I was a professional footballer, a professional football manager.
Yeah.
I worked as a barman. And I could be here for a month telling you, and none of it was really work. It was all crack, you know, good crack. And I don't know.
Well, have you been lucky, do you think?
Lucky. Yeah, obviously. Yeah, I am. I'm okay. I'm happy. I'm really happy. I got to this age and no major catastrophes.
Yeah.
Bar losing my father. I met my wife when I was 15, which was the absolute winning of the lottery for me.
Yeah.
As in a pal and a companion, a mother of my kids, but also putting me on the right road and putting me in my place. So good luck to me is probably a health, you know. Probably a health. I got lucky on that one. I got 5 stents in 14 years ago. That was good luck because I remember the surgeon saying to me when I went back for a checkup, he says, you were ready for the big one and you weren't going to recover. My father dropped dead jogging at 49. So that was good luck. Yeah.
How did you persuade people to let you into football management?
Oh, jeez, I don't know. They must have been off their rocker. I didn't persuade anyone. I was approached. I never asked.
What was the first club that asked you?
Bangor. Up in
County Down, is it?
County Down, yeah. I was a player and I was 33 years of age and the manager resigned. And I had no interest, Tommy. I was never like, you know, in the situation where I'd be getting involved with tactics or coaching. That wasn't for me. I just loved being with the lads, having the crack, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, they approached me and said, the manager resigned. Will you take over for a month? And I said, as I always say, no problem. After that, but it came natural, Tommy. It was simple. I achieved up there.
Yeah.
And then I got the bullet, right? Even though I had another year's contract, which you're going to get the bullet as a manager everywhere you go. And then I went walking, helping out my brother Steve, because I got a bit of a turn against it. Ended up helping Steve and travelling with Steve, and, you know, he became a world champion. And then I got a call in Bohemians, and that was just through the roof.
What did you do for Steve?
What did I do for Steve? Well, not really directly in his boxing because he done his own thing. I'd be around the gym. I'd been around training camp before he went to serious training camp. I'd spar him for a couple of rounds. But basically, I'd run all the say people going to support him. I'd organise the flights, hotels, buses, match fight tickets, everything, and make sure everyone had a good time. And that was what I'd done. And then I'd be in the dressing room with Steve, and I was the world champion belt carrier, not boxer. I used to walk into the ring with the belt, right?
Yeah.
And you come down, can I stand up?
Yeah, of course.
You come down, right? And the entourage comes in. There's 20-odd thousand people all screaming, I have the belt, and I'm full of adrenaline. I'm killing everyone.
Yeah.
I'm not even fighting, I'm killing them. And I'm going by his opponents, and I'm going, you're fucking getting a pal, right? And walk around and come around and go to his trainers. You're getting it too. And then I'd get out of the ring.
Yeah.
Stephen
A cup of tea.
I'd get out. Then Stephen would pull me a couple of days after everything settles and I'd be back at my ma's house. And he'd say, come here, you. He'd say, will you give it over?
Yeah.
You're getting in, you're antagonising people, you're motivating people, you're creating havoc, and you just get out and leave me to do all the fighting.
Yeah.
So that was my thing. And then just watching his back, basically, that's what I done. I watched his back.
Yeah.
You know, because it was a cutthroat business and there was stuff going on. He was a very clever man, but you don't see everything. So that was what I done. And then I got a phone call one night from the president of Bohemians Football Club, actually the president, yeah. And he said, Rod, would you come down and get involved in Bows?
Yeah.
Manage the team. And I went in and it was simple, Tommy. It was simple. Just came natural and we won everything. You know, and then I was getting touted for jobs in England, and then I eventually got touted for a job in England, and off we went. And I arrived in England thinking I was better than Alex Ferguson.
What club? Was it Ipswich or something? I can't remember the
No, I wish it was. It was Carlisle.
Carlisle, that was a change.
Carlisle. I wish it was Ipswich.
Yeah.
So that was a goldfish bowl. And if you won a game, they loved you. If you lost a game, you could be walking down the aisle in the supermarket and be all ducking away. So you had a free run it. I mean, fill your trolley. But it was tough. It was tough on Caroline and the kids. But I achieved out there.
So how long did you stay in Carlisle?
2.5 years. So I opened gyms. I worked on the tarmac, had him with the travelling community. I sold in markets. I've done everything to make a living, to put the bread on the table, as they say.
Yeah.
You know, and then I was contemplating at 60, you know, what's it all about? You know what I mean, Tom?
Yeah.
I'm going around saying, what did I give my whole life? Dedicate my life. Didn't take a drink really till I was 37. Dedicate to football. Done everything to try and make it. Same as a manager. And then when I came to 60, I was thinking, you know, what's it all about? What did I do? You know, I felt like Marlon Brando in the back seat with the taxi on the waterfront. You know, I could have been. You know what I mean?
Even though it sounds like a life full of adventure and a high level adventure.
Yeah.
You're still at some stage kind of going, I haven't achieved much.
I haven't achieved nothing. Tom, I'm on your show and I'm an imposter. Like Paul Howard calls me up and says, Rod, Penguin want to write a book about your life. And I go, what? Who wants to know about my life? Really? And then it became a bestseller.
Yeah.
You know? And now I'm getting like here and other stuff. And I'm going, but hold on, where's the end? I'm dying to know, Tom. When I'm lying on my bed, with all my kids around me and my grandkids, please God, and Caroline, I want to go before her, about 5 minutes before her. I don't want her to have a ball after I leave, right? And I want to go, right, what was that all about? And then I go, yeah, that's what it was all about, but I can't get that yet. I get up every day and I go, I have to find something, you know what I mean?
Maybe it's not one thing. You know what I mean? Maybe it's not, you know, a single significant thing.
Yeah.
The life that you've very briefly described there, to most people, sounds like endless stimulation, endless pressure, endless release, endless crack, endless kind of vivacious living. So,
Yeah.
but nothing that you'd say, I am the man who, apart from the success with Bose,
Yeah.
you know. But maybe that's just... So why Ackle? What's going on
love
there?
it. I just love the walks. Me and Karen walk everywhere. I love talking to the cows. I love talking to the
Organising them.
cows. But, Tom, when I talk to people, they listen for a while and then they go, I'm fucking sick listening to him, right? But the cows don't. They just keep looking at you. And the next day they keep looking, just don't turn away. I go, how are you, meow, pal? How are you as well, right? And they all lift their head and stop eating.
Yeah.
And I tell them stories.
So why do you talk to the cows?
Because they listen to me. Right? I've been talking to footballers for years and they pretend to listen. I know they're not listening. They're not. They don't listen because how you know they don't listen? Because when you talk to them and you go out and your instructions you're just given 2 minutes earlier, they don't follow them.
Yeah.
So that was a waste of time. You know what I mean? So you go into the room, you go, and if 20 footballers sitting there, and they're all going, they're all nodding. Because they're all getting paid wages to pretend. Right? And then they all go and say, what was he on about?
Why have you not tried to get back into football management?
I have tried.
You have tried?
I'm applying for every job. Yeah, I'm applying for every job. You see, Tom, it's like everything else. Sometimes they think, well, the game has moved on. His time has passed. The game was the game when I walked into where Bose couldn't win a league for 27 years or a cup for 11 years or a double for 74 years. And I walked in off a building suit with no qualifications and won everything in 33 months. That's not the joke.
How did you do that?
People, men. Tactics, obviously, hugely. Motivation. Understanding of people. Right?
Yeah.
If you ask somebody to do something and you haven't been kind to them or looked after them or been, compassionate, they go, yeah. But if you've given your everything to them, and I mean everything, and you ask for something back, if they're half the men that you think they are, they'll give it back in effort alone. Compassion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, people have feelings. And people think footballers are machines. He's a number 9, he's a number 10. He's not. He's a human being. Do you know what I mean? I go out my way to help anyone.
Why?
But don't take me for a fool. Because I love to see people happy and I love to see people feeling good. You know what I mean? And my wife's the same. Carol's the same. We won the lotto. 3.3 million. Right?
What?
We won the lotto. And I'll tell you. She didn't know. Right.
What?
We're skint. Skint. Caroline got the ticket. Oh, Jesus, Rod. Check that. So I was going out to try and play with Bohemians. And I went, say nothing to nobody, Karen. Say nothing to nobody. He says, oh, Jesus, I can't believe this. Because we were skint. And I goes, right. So I get in my car and off I go. So I get to the railway line in Clonsilla, going up to Blanchard to pick up Ricky McAvoy. And I ring her back. You all right? All right, I'm shaking. I don't know what to do. I said, don't let the kids out. They run under the car. Just keep it in-house, say nothing to nobody. I won't be long, right? So we got trained anyway, and I got home. Right now, driving down the road, Caroline's family are coming up, all cheered, and I was just telling everyone. Anyway, I got home, and the house was empty, and the whole lot, and blah, 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 blah. Caroline found out I printed the ticket for the next Wednesday and left it there.
Sorry, you did what? You?
I got up early, looked at the lottery numbers that won the night before, ran around the shop and bought the ticket for next Wednesday, and left it down, and Caroline found it, right? So, but the moral of the story, Tom, you got me off track. I wasn't going to tell that story. How you got me off track was, Caroline's like me, she's a giver. Because there was party in the house, blah, blah, blah. But when they eventually found out, you know, do you ever have loads of friends, then within 5 minutes they're all gone? Well, we had millions of friends, and 5 minutes they're all gone, right? And I added her up, Caroline gave away $4.5 million. So my consolation to Caroline was, you know, I was back in the big bed by Wednesday, let's put it that way, right? Happened on a Saturday, Sunday morning. So it took 3 days to get back in the big bed, right? But I said to Karen, the only consolation was we would have owed $1 million if we'd have won it. Because you gave $4.5 million now, she was buying a house. So that's what we are, we just, you know. You
need a place to put your love.
That make me out to be this big lover fella, you know what I mean?
No, but you know what I mean? You need an architecture around you so you can give. Yeah. And if you out in Achill, I know you're talking to cows and stuff like that, but you probably need another shape of something to get in and give what you have to give.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Do you know what, Tom? Do you know where I learned it? I came to my home in Cabra where there was me, my mum, my dad, 6 children and me nanny in a 2-bed.
Yeah.
My dad broke one of the rooms for the... And my dad worked in Guinnesses, so we got bottles of Guinness. But he wasn't a drinker, so every second weekend there'd be a pile. They'd all come out in the local pub. Tom Jones, Frank Sinatra, Engelbert Humperdinck, the radio. My uncle was a great singer, Jack O'Rourke. Charlie Price used to come in. And I'd be up in bed, and I loved it. I was so happy they were. I loved it. And then they'd bring me down. I loved the attention.
Yeah.
And I was Gilbert O'Sullivan when I was about 12, right? And then I was Gary Glitter as well. Right, at 12, I used to put my ma's boots on, put mascara on my chest, and my ma's would come out, come on. And all the neighbours would be going, da. And I loved that. And then I'd love to see my ma happy going up to the pub to me dad. They were a great couple. I loved all that. And then when I got in the pub, I loved it. So you asked me a question, Tom. I love people being happy. I love it. I can't go to an open coffin. I cry at every funeral. I can't look at the atrocities on the telly. Right? I dive in and help anyone. I'd roll my sleeves up and help anyone, even in a physical situation. You know, but I just hate sadness. I hate it. And I hate bereavement. I just hate it. You know?
Do you miss the football?
Yeah, terrible. I miss it terrible.
How do you think you might get back into it?
Probably by mistake rather than design. You know, that's how it can happen sometimes. You don't know. How I ever got into it, Tom, was by mistake rather than design. So life is like that, in my opinion. That's why I never say no. Yeah. So, as I always say, Tom, if you ask me, can I do anything? Ask me, go on.
Can you fish properly?
Yes.
Where should I go fishing for trout?
I don't know, but I'll find out before we have to get there. Do you understand? That's what I'm saying, Tom. Like someone said to me, can you manage a football team? I said, no problem. I haven't a clue. You know?
Yeah.
So, my ma always said, just go out and... As me ma said, I'm not giving this bowls of confidence, I'm giving this bowls of confidence. She was brilliant. My dad was reserved. Boxer, Guinness worker, pure family. I got all that. But my ma had this, just go for it, don't worry about it. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work. And then Caroline came along. And Caroline said to me, I had a great job in Guinnesses. She said to me, Rod, go to England, should have it failed, so what? I was from Devney Gardens. I'll go back to a block of flats. You're from Cabra, we go to a house in Cabra. So once we have each other and the kids, and she was brilliant. So when you have that backing, Tom, there's no pressure. Do you know what I mean? No pressure.
Been a pleasure talking to you, fella.
Thanks, Tommy. Gentleman. Great, thank you.
Wow. Welcome back to the third half, everybody. Freddie, who's next?
Tommy, our next guests are Elaine Farrell and Leanne McCormick.
Hello there.
Hi, lovely to meet you.
Very nice to meet you.
Hi.
Hello there, how are you? So who's who?
I'm Elaine.
Elaine.
Leanne.
Leanne. And what do you do?
So we are historians and academics. So Leanne is at Ulster University and I'm at Queen's University in Belfast. And together we co-created the Bad Bridget project.
What is that
Which
now?
is a research project where we're looking at Irish immigrant women who committed crimes in North America, particularly in Boston, New York and Toronto. And we look at it between 1838 and 1918.
Why'd you do that?
Well, we're both historians, and sort of prior to this, we both looked at Irish women in Ireland. Elaine had been looking at Irish women who commit crimes, and I'd been looking at Irish women and sort of deviant sexuality. And we wanted to know what happens.
Even the way you say that is it's kind of kinky. Deviant sexuality.
It's the accent.
Not my intent, but there we go. And,
You make it sound not so deviant.
not so deviant. I'll have to try harder. So we wanted to know what happened. We thought these women are behaving badly at home. What's happening when they emigrate? And prior to this, sort of what most of the work about Irish immigration had been about positive stories, had been about good wives and good mothers and nuns and teachers, and we didn't really know what happened when things went wrong.
Yeah.
So that was where we kind of started thinking, well, hang on, let's see what happens when things went a bit wrong.
Why do you do it together as opposed to on your own?
Well, I suppose in terms of our expertise, it makes sense to combine it. But also what we found, we were very glad that we were working together, because when we knew we were going to find Irish criminal women in North America. We knew they had committed crimes at home, so chances are some Irish women, when they migrated, would commit crimes. We were not prepared for the scale, for the numbers. So just to give you a couple of examples, so say in 1861 in Toronto, the female prison population is made up of 83% are Irish-born girls and women. And that's not even unusual. In New York in 1862, we've got 86% of the female prison population is Irish-born girls and women. So they are outnumbering every other nationality combined, including the native-born American women.
Why did these women go to prison?
So they go to prison because they've been convicted of some kind of criminal offence. What that criminal offence was really varied. So it could be drunkenness. And we see Irish girls and women being rounded up in big groups. It could be 20 or 30 being taken and being brought to court and being charged with drunkenness. And
now they just go see Joanne McNally and Vogue Williams.
Well, hopefully they don't get arrested there.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And the crimes go right up then to serial killing. So there's kind of everything in between.
Are there any dodgy Tiernan women?
There's plenty of them, but whether they're any relation is...
Whether you want to claim them or not.
Why do you think you're so attracted? Is attracted the right word to these
Passionate.
women?
I think for a range of reasons. Sometimes it's a little bit about an underdog. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we see stories where, and again, often when we're talking about this, we're saying we're not encouraging people to go out and commit crimes or to do anything, but sometimes you see women who are so inventive, maybe that's the right word, about what they're doing. You know, for example, we have a woman called Margaret Brown, who's known as Old Mother Hubbard, and she is this amazing pickpocket. Again, not encourage people to pickpocket, but she's incredibly skilled at it. And what she does is she's fashioned a hook onto a basket, a metal hook onto a basket, and she goes into a department store and she'll sidle up to somebody and she'll say, "Oh, you look beautiful," and "Oh, that's lovely," and then she'll accidentally, on purpose, hook this hook onto it. And while there's a kerfuffle to unhook, she's putting her hands in, she's stealing. And then what she's doing is she's popping all those goods into, she's wearing a cloak that's self-styled with lots of little pockets inside it, and she's putting the goods in it. And it's where she gets the name Old Mother Hubbard, because her cupboard was never bare. And then, of course, she's an old lady and nobody suspects an old lady. So she just slinks out of the department store and hopefully goes on her way. So you see women sometimes who are very inventive about what they're doing. But also, I think it's the range of stories as well, you know, that these sort of crimes do cover a huge number of things, from, as we said, kidnapping or serial killing or all sorts of things. So it's just that kind of variety and trying to work out, you know, Elaine was describing how you're trying to trace somebody and trying to follow that up and see what happens to them. And it's sort of it's quite exciting detective work.
In terms of, say, serial killers, which is the kind of the tabloid headline here, why do you think Irish women ended up doing that over there?
Again, these are the exceptions.
Yeah.
You know, this is very much in the examples that we have. It's for different reasons and different situations. So we have one woman called Lizzie Halliday. And I'm going to preface the two, I've just realised the two things I was going to say. The women do both come from Ulster, and Elaine sometimes does like to kind of point this out. And I would like to the disclaimer is that there is no correlation. This is just the way it happens.
There's no provincial connection.
No, not at all. Not at all.
To
the serial killers. So she emigrates from County Antrim in the 1860s, and when we find her and we see her in the 1890s, she's been accused of killing two neighbours and a husband, and actually when it emerges, she's got this past where there have been about 5 husbands, all quite elderly, all who've sort of died in suspicious circumstances. But there's no reason for why Lizzie Halliday has committed these crimes. It's not obvious that this was a crime for monetary gain, or so there's no obvious reason. And actually, in the end, she's the first woman in the United States to be sentenced to death in the electric chair. She isn't, because her sentence, they do decide that she is insane and her sentence is commuted. And very probably that was the right choice, because there was they couldn't see any kind of motive for her crimes. But she's put into what's then called a lunatic asylum for the rest of her days, where she goes on to attack and then kill an attendant in the institution because they wanted to leave and she was very attached to them. And when she dies, the New York Times describes her as the worst woman in the world. So, you know, there's no reason for her crime. On the other side, we have another woman called Sarah Jane Robinson, who's in Boston, and essentially she is again from Ulster, but she poisons her whole family. You know, they find there's suspicion because of there's a green vomit when her son dies, and they then essentially exhume the bodies of a number of her family and her landlord, and again find that they've all been poisoned. And she is again sentenced to death, but there's a huge campaign to try and prevent her from going
Being
executed, because lots of the suffragette movement get involved, and they're saying, you know, this is a woman who's being sentenced to death for a crime that you know, sentenced to death by men, and so there's a big push, but she ends up, you know, in solitary confinement for the rest of her days. So they are the exceptions, and there are different reasons. And her motive was, they think, is because most of the family members had life insurance policies, so it was about money.
Why do you think you have such an interest in them? In the women, and why are ye so sympathetic to them?
I think we're sympathetic to some because of the situations that they found themselves in.
Yeah,
and sometimes you can see that this is they had limited options for what it is. Some of them, they're very clearly active agents, as you know, like Little Annie. They made a choice. They make the choice, and I suppose it's not maybe sympathetic as such, but there is some sort of perhaps a little bit, of admiration in a way that they have managed to, often about surviving in a very hostile and difficult environment. And one of the things about Irish female emigration that was unique in the context of European immigration was that so many Irish women and girls travelled on their own, and they travelled very young. We have one of the youngest we found was a 7-year-old who travels on her own across the Atlantic, and when she gets there, they find that her parents have died and she's sent back again. But so many of these women are arriving on their own.
Why are they travelling on their own? Is it to do with their family couldn't afford the fare for more than one?
Very often, and that's the choice the girl's gone. And they might be travelling, and maybe there were a few from a village or a town have all gone together, but they're essentially there on their own, and they're doing this whole journey on their own. They get to New York, they might find somebody there, they might have an address, but people moved so much that you could find that address was gone. And there is a sort of, an admiration about these are people who have often done this journey on their own. They've got there, they're trying to survive, they're trying to do their best, they're trying to kind of make a life for themselves. And so sometimes, I think in that sense, there is a huge amount of sympathy as well for some of those women and what they're trying to do in actually really difficult situations.
Or a recognition, I think, of the context in which these crimes are taking place. These are women who have mental health problems and there is no support for that whatsoever. There's women who have addiction issues and they're arriving into prison and somebody's saying, well, why are you back in for drunkenness and you're only in last week? And of course, us looking at these records, we can see what the issue is, but we're talking, the 1800s, they wouldn't necessarily have had that support. Or women who are pregnant outside marriage. And we found so many women and teenage girls pregnant outside marriage and leaving Ireland. And, the man, he paid for the passage ticket and he's going to be on the next boat. He promised he's coming. And no
Never
sign
appears.
of him. And these are women who are then arriving with absolutely nothing and they're pregnant and where is the support for them with no family around? And, thinking about the attitudes towards children being born outside marriage in the 19th century and early 20th century. So I wouldn't say that I would be sympathetic towards them, but I would would most definitely recognise the context in which these crimes are taking place.
And what excites you about the work?
Sometimes it is the case studies. It's some of those stories. It's being able to see this individual life, but also to see the wider context in which this was taking place. When you're looking at these crime reports about various individuals, like somebody like say Elizabeth Dillon, who she's a pickpocket, but she specifically targets funerals. Like that's her kind of mode of operation, and she says that she's a really good crier and that she enjoys crying and she may as well cry over the death of a stranger as a friend, and that nobody suspects a woman who cries well of being a thief. So she pickpockets. People at a funeral might not necessarily be taking care of their belongings. And we see her in prison in the late 19th into the 20th century. And, every time she comes before the court, she's presenting herself as this old, frail woman. And court journalists are saying things like, this is most likely the last we're going to see of Elizabeth Dillon. They say that in 1908, she's back 1913, 1916, 1920. She really kind of plays up that old woman stereotype. And she also, when they say, like, why are you doing this? And she says, well, I'm an old woman now and, I have to make a living somehow. I need to eat and have a place to live. So she's, again, very deliberately making a choice to get involved in criminality. So it is, it's exciting seeing some of those cases and being able to kind of piece the fragments together, and also then to give us this kind of wider view of what actually was happening. What were the lived realities for Irish women when they went abroad? It wasn't just, this new world and they all became success stories. There were various aspects of their lives, get glimpses of what their lives were like as mothers, as wives, what kind of jobs did they do? What survival strategies did they use as well?
Why do we feel kind of, not so much sympathy, but why do we feel affection towards these women?
Do you?
I like the sound of that one.
But I think, and sometimes, well, I was just that point about what's exciting about it too, and about the engagement with this. I'm going to shoehorn. I have a favourite Bad Bridget, and I'm going to get her in now. That we find letters from. Again, sometimes it's tricky to hear the voices of women themselves. Sometimes we get glimpses, but sometimes we get glimpses of families as well and those family connections. And this sort of woman called Marion Canning, who came from County Leitrim. And in 1891, we come across her in New York. She's a sex worker. She gets arrested for theft because she meets a client one night. They arrange to go, they're going back to her house, and he then accuses her of stealing his watch and some money. And they call for a policeman. They go down to the police station. She's searched. There's no evidence that they don't find a watch, they don't find any money. But she ends up in court anyway. And she's found guilty and she's sentenced to 7 years in prison. There's no evidence, and clearly the fact that she's young, she's an Irish woman, she defends herself, and she ends up in, but she's also a sex worker, and she says that, and that clearly goes against her. But we wouldn't know anything about this crime. It doesn't make the newspapers, It's nothing, but we found a pardon file, and in the pardon file there are letters from her father back in County Leitrim, basically saying, I am so upset. Our Irish parents' heart's broken. She's a good girl, really. I'll come and get her. She'll not bother you again. Please don't send her to prison. But they essentially then, they pardon her. They release her. And she goes back home. And we know that she gets married back home. So we can pretty much assume that nobody back home really knew what happened to Marion. Probably her father didn't know about the sex work, but just knew maybe about the theft.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they probably told no one, because a criminal conviction and would have scuppered your chances probably of getting married.
Were you tempted to follow her family line to contact one of her relatives now?
Yeah, so you sort of leave it, at a point, and that's what people often say. Do people come and, find their relatives in the book and stuff? And often at talks, we're sort of thinking, we're waiting for somebody to say that's my great auntie, that, and we'll sort of have to hope that people are happy about that. So yeah, sometimes we'll stop a bit because we don't want to go and knock on somebody's door and say, did you know?
So the name of the podcast is Bad Bridgets.
Yeah.
It'd be a great new name for the women's wing in Mountjoy.
You can suggest that.
It's been a pleasure talking to you, ladies. Thank you very much for coming on to the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, to play us out, would you please welcome Rachel Lavelle performing Let Me Unlock Your Full Potential from her album Big Dreams.
Girl in a rhythm, get your confidence from everyone you meet. I'm chasing miracles and welcoming the possibilities. You could show the world to me. I was in a deep, 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 deep sleep. There was no ground beneath my feet. I was floating, I was drifting over when I heard the sound of an angel, a voice saying, Rachel, let me unlock your full potential. Let me show you can be. I can see possibility. I can see possibility. We were the cinema. You were watching with your family. Funny now everything is breaking up, shaking at the seams. You could show the world to me. turn